Hello, second grade Smarties, and welcome to Wit and Wisdom, Module 3, Civil Rights Heroes, Lesson 28. Today, our pizza bite question or our content framing question, go ahead and take a bite out of that pizza, is what is the essential meaning of separate is never equal? Now, remember, this is a narrative text about Sylvia Mendez and her family's fight for desegregation. This took place in the past. We also learn that this is talking about a different group of people. We have talked about African Americans' fight against segregation. This text is about Mexican Americans and their fight against segregation. This text gives us some quotes in Spanish and then translates the quotes to English. So remember, Sylvia's mother, her father, Sylvia's mother and her father, they speak in Spanish, and those sentences are written in the text. But then the author also writes them in English. Why do you think the author included Spanish translations of what the characters were saying? Why would the author do that? Tell me in the puzzle. The author does that so we can have an understanding of our character's background. Our characters were real people. They were real people that had Mexican and Puerto Rican heritage. They had things about themselves that were special to their heritage. In Mexico, they speak Spanish. In Puerto Rico, they speak Spanish. So the author incorporated Spanish sentences to let you know as a reader that these were real people that had real experiences. So what we're going to do is we are going to explore two sentences that were said in Spanish in the text and talk about how that helps with the meaning of the text. So here's the first page of our text when Sylvia goes to Westminster School for the first time. Her mother says, "No sabes que por eso luchamos." Say that with me, Smarties. No sabes que por eso luchamos. That means, don't you know that is why we fought? Why does Sylvia's mother use the word we to tell who fought? Don't you know that is why we fought? Who is Sylvia's mother talking about? Who were all the people that helped fight against segregation in this text? Who were the people that fought against segregation? Tell me in the puzzle. So Sylvia's parents, her mother and her father, remember her aunt takes her to get enrolled into the school, takes her and her brothers, but they refuse to enroll. We also learn about Mr. Marcus. He helped fight against segregation, as well as the Estrada family. There were multiple people that helped fight against this injustice. What kind of fighting happened in this text? What was Sylvia's family fighting against? Tell me in the puzzle. They were fighting against the segregation of Mexican American children and white American children in the schools. They were being treated unfairly. The Mexican American children were United States citizens. They had equal rights, but were not being treated equally because of their heritage, because of what they look like. How does this use of the word fought connect with your knowledge about Ruby Bridges and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? I want you to think, how did they fight? Did they fight with their fists? What did Sylvia's family fight with? What did they use to fight? Think about how Dr. King fought against segregation and how Ruby Bridges fought against segregation. What is similar about the way these three groups fought? What did they fight with, Smarties? Tell me in the puzzle. They fought with their words. They fought with their actions. Remember, Ruby Bridges fought against injustice with bravery. She fought against the injustice of segregation and against people judging her going to the school. She fought segregation with her actions, with her bravery. She also fought with her words. Remember, we read that she prayed for forgiveness for the people. Think about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He fought with his words too. He fought with words of peace. He didn't use his fists. He fought with words, with his I have a dream speech. And Sylvia and her family, they fought with their words. They tried to convince people to sign petitions. They spoke with Mr. Marcus. They spoke with other families. They went to a courtroom and stood up for themselves with their words. I want you to think, if they fought against segregation with violence, with their fists, with their bodies, do you think that there would have been a positive outcome to that? No. So, Smarties, when we respond to injustice, we need to respond with peace. We need to respond with actions that demonstrate the peace that we are looking for, right? All right, let's look at another example of a Spanish quote from the text. Cuando la casa es justa, los demás te siguen. Cuando la casa es justa, los demás te siguen. When you fight for justice, others will follow. I'm going to read this page of the text. I want you to think, what does Sylvia's mother mean when she says, when you fight for justice, others will follow? During the appeal, the Mendez family received support from the League of United Latin American Citizens, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the Japanese American Citizens League, the American Jewish Congress, and other organizations. These groups sent letters with information relevant to the case and asked the judge to rule in favor of the Mendez family. Sylvia was amazed that people of different backgrounds and from different parts of the country who had never met her family were getting involved in the case and trying to help them. But her mother said, Cuando la casa es justa, los demás te siguen. When you fight for justice, others will follow. On April 15, 1947, the judges in the Court of Appeals in San Francisco ruled in favor of the Mendez family again. That June, Governor Earl Warren signed the law that said that all children in California were allowed to go to school together, regardless of race, ethnicity, or language. What happened in this page of the text, Smarties? When you fight for justice. In the puzzle, how were people fighting for injustice? How were people fighting for injustice? They were fighting for justice. How were they fighting? Tell me in the puzzle. It says that groups and organizations wrote letters. They sent letters to support the Mendez family. Who were the people that were following? The Mendez family fought for justice, right? They went and fought the case for desegregation. That was their fight. When you fight for that justice, others were following, right? They had multiple groups of people that supported them because of that fight for justice. So I want you to think, what is the lesson that you can learn from separate is never equal? Think about their fight. Think about Sylvia and her family's experiences, how they responded to injustice. Think about what happened after they went to the courtroom. What happened after they pled their case? What did people start to do? What was the end of the story? Sylvia was able to go to that school because of what her family fought for. What is a lesson that you can learn from this text? Tell me in the puzzle. A lesson that I learned from this text is to always fight for what is just. Fight for justice, fight for equality, fight for fairness, but fight in a peaceful way. Also, I learned to never give up. Never give up on what is right. Never give up on fighting or doing what is right. And I also learned that separate is never equal. Segregation hurts people. It doesn't help people, it hurts people. All right, Smarties. So tomorrow we will be completing our focus question task 5. So you are going to need your scape chart that you made in the last lesson to complete the writing task. So here is our writing task. Reread pages 24 through 29 and separate is never equal. We've already done that. Write an exploded moment narrative from the point of view of Sylvia Mendez during the courtroom scene. Describe her response to injustice by describing her thoughts, feelings, and actions in this moment. So, Smarties, for our writing, you are going to use your scape chart to help write this exploded moment. Now, remember, it's first person. We're talking like we are Sylvia. So, what words are we going to use for this narrative? If we are in first person point of view, we're going to be using words I, me, and we, right? We're going to be using words about myself. Okay, we are also going to need a sentence that describes what Sylvia is feeling. I feel prepared. I feel ready to speak up against injustice. We also need to tell her we also need a sentence describing what she's thinking. I know that Mr. Kent is lying. I think that this is wrong. And we also need to describe an action of Sylvia. So, Smarties, tomorrow you are going to need your scape chart from this event in the courtroom to complete the writing task. All right, Smarties, and let's wrap up our lesson with a deep dive. So I have a word here that is a compound word, and it is the word field worker. Field worker. What do you notice about the word field worker? What do you notice about this word, Smarties? Tell me in the puzzle. I notice that this word is made up of field, which is a word that can stand by itself, and worker. That is also a word that can stand by itself. But put together, it makes a new word. Field worker. I see the word worker. That means that is a person that works. What does the word field tell us about a person that works? Let's see if we can figure it out. Her father, Gonzalo Mendez, had labored for years as a field worker picking grapes and oranges. So, Smarties, the word labored means to work. So, Sylvia's father worked as a field worker picking grapes and oranges. What information did we learn about the word field worker from this quote in the text? What is a field worker, Smarties? Tell me in the puzzle. So using this sentence from the text, picking grapes and oranges, that means that he was probably working at a farm, right? He was working at a farm with fields, with land that had grapes and oranges. So a field worker is a person that works in a field. It is usually someone that works on a farm. So, Smarties, when we are thinking about these compound words, remember these are words that they are put together to make a new word with a new meaning. So let's look at 3 sentences and see if we can figure out what the compound word is in the sentence and what is its meaning. The Mendez victory made the newspaper headlines. The Mendez victory made the newspaper headlines. In this sentence, there are 2 compound words, In the Ed Puzzle, I want you to tell me the two compound words in this sentence. So the first word is newspaper, newspaper. Those are two words that can stand by themselves, but put together have a new meaning. So a newspaper is what? It's a paper that tells us news. Headlines. Head is a word that can stand by itself. Lines is a word that can stand by itself, but put together, it comes up with a new meaning. So a headline is a line, so a sentence that is at the top of a paper. It's at the top of an article or a piece of writing. Think about your head. Your head is at the top of your body. So a headline is that top line of a newspaper. All right, here's our next sentence. He was a businessman and he was used to dealing with people. He was a businessman and he was used to dealing with people. What is the compound word in this sentence? Tell me in the Ed Puzzle. Businessman, right? Businessman. Two words that can stand by themselves, but put together, they have a new meaning. What does a businessman do, Smarties? Look at the sentence. What does a businessman do? Tell me in the Ed Puzzle. The sentence tells us he was a businessman. He was used to dealing with people. If you are a businessman, that means you deal with or work with other people. You are a man that does business. And our last sentence. Sylvia's family sat in the courtroom and listened to the judge. Sylvia's family sat in the courtroom and listened to the judge. What is the compound word in that sentence? Tell me in the Ed Puzzle. Courtroom, right? Think about a courtroom. What is a courtroom? What is a courtroom? Sylvia's family sat in the courtroom and listened to the judge. Ooh, that word judge can help us figure out what a courtroom is. We know that court can stand by itself and room can stand by itself. So we know that it's a room where people are judged, right? People are judged. People are judged based on the choices that are made. They're in courtrooms, laws are being made or laws have been broken, and so people are being judged for that. So Smarties, we can use sentences around a word to find its meaning. But remember, compound words are two singular words when put together are made into one word with a new meaning. All right, Smarties, that is it for today's lesson. Remember to keep that growth mindset. Good learners do challenging things. Good learners also fight against injustice. Happy learning, Smarties.